Ethan Hayes had never thought of himself as a hero. He was just a single dad trying to raise his 8-year-old son, Noah, while keeping his small auto repair business afloat. Life was hard but manageable. His days were filled with grease-stained overalls, unpaid bills, and the laughter of his boy who kept him going after his wife's passing. That Tuesday afternoon, he had closed the shop early, deciding to surprise Noah with his favorite chocolate milk and maybe stop by the park before heading home. With a grocery bag in hand, Ethan walked down the bustling city street, content with the simplicity of his plans. That was when he saw her, a little girl, no more than 7, skipping along the sidewalk in a bright yellow dress, her backpack bouncing behind her. She looked too young to be walking alone, and Ethan slowed his pace, concern tugging at him. Before he could approach, chaos erupted. A man in a black hoodie sprinted out of a side alley, his wild eyes scanning the crowd as he pulled a gun from his waistband. Shouts and screams filled the air, people scattering in every direction. The girl froze like a deer in headlights, her wide eyes locked on the weapon pointed recklessly at the street. Ethan didn't think, instinct drove him forward. He dropped his groceries, apples rolling onto the pavement, and lunged toward the child. Wrapping his arms around her, he spun so his body shielded hers just as a gunshot rang out. The impact tore into his shoulder, hot pain searing through him, but he refused to let her go. She clung to him, sobbing into his chest as his knees buckled. Around them, car horns blared and glass shattered, the world dissolving into panic. The gunman, startled by the sound of approaching sirens, bolted back into the alley, vanishing as quickly as he had appeared. Ethan, gasping for breath, staggered but stayed upright, his blood soaking through his shirt. He whispered hoarsely to the trembling girl, "You're safe now, don't be scared." And then, only minutes later, a sleek black car screeched to a halt at the curb. A woman in a tailored navy suit leapt out, her heels striking the pavement with authority. Her eyes widened when she saw the little girl in Ethan's arms. "Lily," she cried, rushing forward. The child reached for her mother, and Ethan, barely holding on, realized he had just saved the daughter of someone far more important than he could have imagined. Claire Donovan was used to walking into chaos and fixing it, but nothing in her life had prepared her for the sight of her daughter trembling in the arms of a bleeding stranger. She dropped to her knees, pulling Lily close and scanning her quickly, her heart hammering in her chest. Relief washed through her when she saw the girl wasn't injured, but the relief was quickly replaced by horror as her eyes settled on the man who had shielded her. His shirt was soaked in red, his face pale from blood loss, yet he still kept his arms protectively around Lily until Claire gently pried her free. For a moment, their eyes met, and Claire saw something raw and honest in his expression, the unshakable instinct of a father. "You saved her," Claire said, her voice low but steady as she pressed her daughter to her chest. Her words weren't just gratitude, they were astonishment. People ran when danger struck. She knew that truth all too well from the coldness of boardrooms and the cutthroat business world. But this man, this stranger, had stepped in without hesitation and paid the price for it. The man, Ethan, though she didn't yet know his name, coughed weakly, trying to sit upright as blood trickled from his shoulder. "She's okay, that's all that matters," he murmured. Claire's throat tightened. She shrugged off her blazer and pressed it firmly against his wound, her manicured hands clumsy yet determined to keep him alive. The act felt strange, she was used to signing contracts worth millions, not kneeling on a dirty sidewalk trying to stop a man from bleeding out. "Why?" she whispered, the question slipping out before she could stop it. "Why would you risk your life for a child you don't even know?" His eyes flickered, pain etched across his features, but his voice was steady. "I'm a dad. If it were my boy out here, I'd hope someone would do the same." The sound of sirens grew louder, flashing red and blue lights painting the street. Paramedics rushed forward, carefully lifting Ethan onto a stretcher. Lily cried out, reaching for him, but Claire held her close. "He'll be okay," she whispered, more to herself than to her daughter. Without thinking, she followed the stretcher toward the ambulance. For once, the world of corporate deals and deadlines faded away, replaced by one thought that gripped her completely: the life of the man who had saved her little girl. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors and the steady hum of machines keeping track of Ethan's recovery. He stirred slowly, his body heavy from the medication, and the first thing he felt was the warmth of a small hand gripping his own. Blinking against the light, he saw Noah sitting beside his bed, eyes red from crying but filled with relief now that his father was awake. Ethan smiled weakly at his son, squeezing his hand, and then his gaze shifted, and froze. Sitting in a chair opposite Noah was the same woman from the street, though gone was the sharp image of the immaculate CEO. Claire Donovan was dressed simply now, her hair tied back, her face lined with exhaustion, and in her lap, Lily slept soundly, a small blanket covering her shoulders. For a moment, Ethan wondered if he was dreaming. Claire met his eyes, her own softening with something between gratitude and awe. "You're alive," she whispered, as though she had been holding her breath for hours. Ethan tried to sit up, but pain flared through his shoulder, forcing him back down. Claire leaned closer, her voice steady though her hands trembled. "The doctors said you'll recover, but it will take time. I don't even know how to thank you. If you hadn't been there," her voice broke, and she pulled Lily closer, unable to finish. Ethan shook his head gently, his voice hoarse but certain. "Don't thank me. I did what anyone would have done." But both of them knew that wasn't true. Most people had run that day, while he had run toward danger. Claire studied him, her usually guarded heart aching with the truth that this stranger had given her daughter back to her. Over the following days, Claire and Lily visited often. While Ethan rested and healed, Lily and Noah became inseparable, playing board games and whispering secrets as if they had known each other for years. Claire found herself lingering, talking with Ethan about his life, his struggles as a widowed father working long hours at the garage, the way Noah was his entire world. And in turn, Ethan saw glimpses of Claire few had ever witnessed, not the ruthless executive painted across magazines, but a mother who carried her own loneliness quietly, who feared losing the one person who mattered most. Somewhere between laughter from their children and the late-night conversations in a hospital room, an unspoken bond began to form, fragile yet undeniable, binding two very different lives together in ways neither of them could have imagined. Weeks later, Ethan finally returned home, his shoulder bound but healing, and though he insisted he could manage on his own, Claire refused to let him slip back into struggle. She arranged his therapy appointments, sent meals when he was too sore to cook, and often brought Lily along to visit. At first, Ethan resisted, pride making him reluctant to accept help, but gradually he saw that Claire wasn't doing it out of pity, she was doing it because she cared. Their children became inseparable, Noah teaching Lily to climb trees while she showed him how to draw with bright crayons, filling Ethan's small home with laughter it hadn't known in years. Claire, who had always measured her days by board meetings and profit margins, began to linger in Ethan's kitchen, sipping coffee at his worn wooden table, her sharp edges softening in the glow of simple warmth. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of orange and gold, Ethan stood in the yard steadying Lily's bicycle while Noah cheered her on, and Claire found herself watching with tears in her eyes. She walked over slowly, her heels crunching against the gravel, and when Lily wobbled forward on the bike, both Ethan and Noah burst into proud applause. Claire smiled, her heart swelling, and whispered, "You changed everything for us." Ethan turned to her, his face lit by the fading sunlight, and shook his head gently. "You and Lily gave me something too," he said. "A reminder that even when life knocks us down, there's always something worth standing up for." His words lingered in the air, heavy and real, and Claire reached out, slipping her hand into his. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like a CEO burdened by responsibility, she felt like a woman, a mother, and, standing beside Ethan, she felt safe. That night, as their children laughed under the twilight sky, Claire realized that fate had given her more than a second chance at holding on to her daughter, it had given her a partner who understood sacrifice, love, and loss as deeply as she did. And Ethan, once just a single dad who thought his life was destined for quiet struggle, understood that sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most unexpected blessings. What began with a bullet and a stranger's courage had become something far more powerful, a new family, stitched together not by blood or wealth, but by the unshakable choice to stand for one another, no matter the cost.